Hey people, it is Friday, May the 3rd. It is 1:32 in the afternoon and about 12 Celsius here in Edmonton, Alberta. That's right, I'm far away from Toronto here in the province of Alberta in Western Canada. And I'm here in Edmonton visiting some family with my sister. My sister is out with my dad and brother right now. And they dropped me off here on Jasper Avenue, just as we're coming into downtown Edmonton. So I'm going to take a walk heading east along Jasper Avenue into the heart of downtown Edmonton. And Jasper Avenue is considered the main street of downtown. Now, this end of Jasper Avenue is a bit residential in nature. We're not in the core of downtown yet. But there are many high-rise apartments and condos lining Jasper Avenue as you head into the heart of downtown. And the weather is far, far better this time than the last time I was in Edmonton, which was in November of 2022. When it was bitterly cold and snow on the ground and a very nasty wind chill. So I'm glad this time around the weather's nice. Although things aren't quite as green here as they are in Toronto. Edmonton is very far north. It's Canada's most northerly major city. And it's the capital city of Alberta. And the city of Edmonton proper has over 1 million people now. It's a fast-growing city. And closer to maybe 1.4 or 1.5 million in the greater metropolitan area. See some of the office towers of downtown way off in the distance. Edmonton has a pretty decent skyline. And you'll see eventually the tallest building in downtown, which is actually the tallest building in Canada outside of Toronto. That's right, even Edmonton's rival city, Calgary, to the south, doesn't have a building as tall as Edmonton's tallest, although they are very close in height, but Edmonton does come out on top, much to Calgary's chagrin, I'm sure. And this part of Jasper Avenue is pretty wide. Definitely a bit more auto-oriented here. And I think this is the tallest residential condo in Edmonton. Stantec Tower, the tallest building overall, is a mixed-use building. And we can't see it yet. It's coming into view now. And we'll see how much more lively the downtown is this time. Of course, as I mentioned last time I was in Edmonton, it was November and very cold and bitterly wind chilly and all that sort of thing, so downtown wasn't very lively. But now it's a nice sunny Friday, so we'll get a better impression perhaps this time of downtown Edmonton. And there you can see the Stantec Tower. It really stands out in the skyline. It looks far taller than any of the surrounding buildings. Definitely a much different feel, though, than a city like Toronto.
You're gonna have to be.
VIP massage. Getting a haircut at the barber shop and a massage all in one convenient location. There's a 900X bus. I took that bus last time I was in Edmonton to get from the West Edmonton Mall to downtown. That was when I was traveling with Megan, and I believe I recorded a video of the bus ride. I'll probably be taking that bus afterwards to get back to the West Edmonton Mall area, which is close to where I'm staying. I think many years ago, my dad used to live in this apartment building here. And that's where I'm staying now. He lives in a suburban neighborhood in the West End, within walking distance of the West Edmonton Mall. And as you can see, there are actually quite a lot of high-rise apartment buildings stretching all along Jasper Avenue and along the banks of the North Saskatchewan River. From a distance, it makes for a very impressive-looking skyline. But up close, it doesn't feel terribly urban. It's a bit sparse. I think the neighborhood just west of downtown with all these apartment buildings is called the Oliver neighborhood. There's another bus that goes to the West Edmonton Mall, the number 2. There is a light rail system in Edmonton as well, but unfortunately the light rail does not go to the West Edmonton Mall yet, although it is under construction. There's a new line that's well underway that will take you to West Edmonton, although it still has a ways to go before that'll be open. They've been really expanding their light rail system over the last several years here in Edmonton. And it runs underground through downtown, which is different than Calgary, where their light rail system all is above ground. So Edmonton can not only boast the tallest building in Alberta, but also Alberta's only subway, if you want to call it that, at least for a small section of its LRT system. It still feels kind of a suburban-urban hybrid along this part of Jasper Avenue, but we are getting closer to the core now. I think eventually it takes on a more traditional, built-up commercial strip look to it.
What the hell happened? You're in the room. Me and Jasper.
That's a pretty cool mural there. And that new residential building is looking quite tall. I think it might be close to topping out. Edmonton General. There are some people walking about, but definitely much less foot traffic than I'm accustomed to. But I think downtown Edmonton was hit pretty hard during the lockdowns. And it is a government city, being the provincial capital, and I think a lot of government workers do tend to work from home. And it is also Friday, which makes it even more likely that people will be working from home. This is Burger's Priest. That's a Toronto burger chain. I don't think I knew that they expanded this far away from Toronto. In addition to being a provincial capital, Edmonton is also known as an oil town. along with Calgary, of course. Edmonton is considered the more blue-collar of the two cities in terms of its oil industry jobs. But that is offset by all the white-collar government workers, and it's also home to the University of Alberta, which is Alberta's largest public university. So just saying things like Calgary is white-collar and Edmonton is blue-collar isn't exactly true. It's not quite as simple as that. It's a very busy street, 109th Street here. I think it might lead to a bridge going over the river. Not exactly sure. All right, now I think we're coming more into the heart of downtown. I think Jasper Avenue starts to get a little more built up now in its nature. And you can see the dome of the Alberta legislature off in the distance. Very similar to a Capitol dome as you would see in US capitals. Now let's check out how downtown Edmonton is looking. My relatives were a bit nervous about me coming down here to do this because unfortunately downtown Edmonton has a bit of a reputation for being a rough place. But I'm sure it's not as bad as some people like to make it out to be. The crime rate in Edmonton overall is on the high side compared to Toronto, for instance. That can be said for almost all the prairie cities, really. I think Calgary might have the lowest crime rate among the prairie cities, but Edmonton and Winnipeg, I think, have the highest among the major cities anyway. And Regina and Saskatoon, which are smaller cities, also have quite high crime rates overall. And there's a Boston Pizza that restaurant chain began here in Edmonton. Despite the name Boston being in the title of the name. I guess Edmonton pizza that just didn't have the cachet they were looking for. I thought, let's pick an American city where it sounds like the pizza would be really good, even though it doesn't really have a reputation for good pizza. So Boston pizza it is.
I'm like blind right now. I have my headphones.
I always like these sort of sticker boards. Get a sense of what's going on in a city. Edmonton is known to have a pretty lively arts and cultural scene, actually. There's a nice old historic storefront there, the Jasper block. That's looking south towards the river. I think the parkland that stretches along the river is considered one of the largest urban parks in all of Canada. Another nice old historic building there. And I think this one is too, although it's been sort of gussied up. Of course, Edmonton and other cities in Western Canada are much younger than the eastern cities, such as Toronto, and especially places like Montreal and Quebec City. I think at the beginning of the 20th century, both Edmonton and Calgary were still small towns. And they didn't really start growing into larger cities until the 1960s or so, getting up into the hundreds of thousands. But they grew very rapidly, though, and continue to do so. So a bit quiet here still on Jasper Avenue in the heart of downtown. It's an interesting building. And there's a good shot of the Stantec Tower, towering above everything else. Like it was a theater, an old theater maybe. See the old, where they put the movie posters, where they used to put the movie posters. Paramount on Jasper. It's sad that that's no longer operating. There's an old bank building. And it's still operating as a bank after all these years. For decades, that was the tallest building in Edmonton. It only finally got surpassed within the last 10 years. It's the Manulife building. Another nice old building here. Union Bank Inn. Now it's a hotel though. For a long time, this was the defining building on Edmonton's skyline. The sun will go behind it here. I think it will. Until this building blocks it. The McDonald Hotel. Edmonton's Chateau-style railroad hotel. That was also one of the biggest buildings in the city in its earlier days. And believe it or not, before Toronto had its CN Tower built, Edmonton built its own CN Tower, which you can see right up ahead. And that was the first major office tower constructed in downtown Edmonton. I think that was built in the 1960s. We're coming to the end of the sort of interesting part of downtown Jasper Avenue. It does continue on a bit further here as we head eastward, but I think I'm going to wrap things up here with the old McDonald Hotel. So I hope you enjoyed the walk along the downtown portion of Jasper Avenue, beginning to the west, where it's mostly residential apartment towers and still rather suburban looking, but as we progressed into the core, it got quite a bit more built up and city looking and feel and vibe, although definitely a bit quiet here in downtown in terms of people. But I think just that's how it is these days here in Edmonton, unfortunately. But I hope you enjoyed the walk in any case. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also make sure you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal as well as via my merch store. Or you can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by sending a super thanks if you prefer. And you can find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back, because as always, I will continue